You think your thoughts belong to you, they don't. They're automated broadcasts running on uncertainty fuel, and bedtime is when the station turns up the volume. Run one protocol for 48 hours at the same trigger, and you'll get data, not belief. Data. You'll find out whether you can interrupt the handoff or whether you're still the passenger. Lights off, head on pillow, eyes closed. And within 10 seconds, your brain starts the replay. That conversation from 3 days ago where you said the wrong thing, the email from this morning that might have sounded sharp, the meeting next week that could go badly. You're not choosing these thoughts. They're arriving like trains and on a schedule you didn't write. You call it overthinking. You call it anxiety. You call it insomnia. But none of those names tell you what's happening. What's happening is this: your brain runs simulations to predict threat, and it uses your attention as the projector. The simulations feel real because attention makes things feel real. The loop tightens because you're feeding it, without realizing you're feeding it. Here's the thesis. Thoughts aren't private property. They're broadcasts. And you've been confusing the receiver with the sender. No mysticism, just mechanism. Your brain generates predictions to reduce uncertainty. Predictions require scenarios. Scenarios demand attention, and attention amplifies whatever it touches. During the day, your attention is rented out to the world. Messages, tasks, faces, noise, motion. At night, the world goes quiet, and your brain finally has bandwidth, so it fills the gap with worst-case rehearsals. You think you're thinking, you're not. You're watching a broadcast that runs whether you consent or not. This episode gives you a protocol to interrupt the broadcast at the moment it starts. You'll learn the trigger, the pattern, and the choice that breaks the loop. Then you'll run the same test for 48 hours at bedtime. Same trigger, new response. Comment 48H and your trigger word. One word. For most of you, it's lights off. For some, it's the sound of silence. For others, it's the first exhale after you lie down. Name it, that's your anchor. The protocol has 3 moves: observe, label, choose. No journaling, no analysis, same trigger. Same response, 2 nights. And at the end, you'll answer one question. Did you run it, yes or no? Now we decode the mechanism. Then you get the protocol, then you run the test. Here's the paradox. The harder you try to stop the thoughts, the louder they get. Why? Because effort is attention, and attention is fuel. You're not fighting the broadcast, you're powering it. Evidence 1. You tell yourself to stop thinking about the argument. But your brain can't not think without loading the image first. So it loads the argument, it loads the words, it loads the tone. And now the whole scene is live on the screen. You pour fuel on the thing you're trying to extinguish. Evidence 2. You distract yourself with a mental task. Count backward. Visualize a beach. Repeat a phrase. And for a moment it works, and because you've given your attention a different job, but the broadcast doesn't end. It waits. And the second the distraction ends, it surges back. Not because it's wise, because the brain reads avoidance as keep scanning. Evidence 3. You try to logic your way out. You tell yourself the worst case is unlikely. You tell yourself you're being irrational. You tell yourself to calm down. And the broadcast doesn't care. It's not a debate, it's a survival rehearsal. Survival doesn't negotiate. The paradox is operational. If you engage, you feed it. If you fight, you feed it. If you monitor whether it's gone, you feed it. The broadcast runs on the attention you give it while trying to remove it. So you don't win by playing its game. You win by changing the game. Not by stopping the broadcast, but by interrupting the handoff. Your brain generates thoughts the way your lungs generate breath, automatic, constant, mostly unconscious. But here's the split. You are not the generator. You are the operator, the one who decides where attention goes. Most people never make this distinction. They assume thoughts are theirs, because thoughts appear inside their head. That's like assuming the radio station is inside the radio. The station broadcasts, the radio receives. And you choose the volume. Now watch bedtime. You lie down. The catastrophizing starts. Thought 1. What if they're angry about what I said? Thought 2. What if I get fired? Thought 3. What if I don't sleep and I ruin tomorrow? These thoughts aren't conclusions, they're predictions. The brain isn't asking, is this true? It's asking, is this possible? And possibility is enough to trigger rehearsal. Here's the mechanism. The thoughts arrive. That part is automatic. But the moment you notice a thought, there's a fork. Do you follow it, or do you redirect? Following means giving it the spotlight. Redirecting means moving the spotlight. The broadcast doesn't care which you choose, it cares whether you feed it. Concrete scene. You're lying down. A thought arrives. What if I embarrass myself tomorrow? Old response, engage. You run the scenario, you script your lines, you predict reactions, you rehearse failure. And the rehearsal feels like preparation, but it produces nothing except more rehearsal. New response, notice, not fight, not judge, not debate. Just notice it, the way you'd notice a car passing outside. The car is there, the sound is real, but you don't chase it. The thought arrives, you notice it, you let it pass, then you move your attention somewhere else, not as an escape, as a choice. Distraction runs away, redirection selects a better signal, and that's the truth most people never hear. You don't need to stop the thoughts, you need to stop amplifying them. The brain will keep broadcasting. That's its job. Your job is deciding what gets the spotlight. And the moment you realize you have that choice, you're not the passenger anymore. Which thought did you follow last night that you could have let pass? The broadcast runs whether you listen or not, but only you decide the volume. Feel your hands resting wherever they are for 5 seconds. Attention is measurement, meaning whatever you attend gets bandwidth first. This is why bedtime spirals grow teeth. The first thought isn't the problem. The problem is what happens next. You give it attention, and the brain reads that as a signal, important. So it allocates more resources, more scenarios, more details, more emotional weight. You didn't ask for the escalation, but attention triggered it. Real time. Thought, what if they didn't like my presentation? You attend. Then the follow-ups arrive. What if they're talking about it right now? What if I looked incompetent? What if this changes everything? Each one feeds the next. Fear, shame, dread. You're not problem solving. You're training your nervous system to expect failure. Now here's the trap hidden inside trying to be responsible. Your brain believes attention is proof. If you keep returning to the thought, the brain assumes the thought contains a threat worth tracking, so it keeps offering it. Not once, not twice, on loop. That's why the spirals feel personal. You think this must be me, but it's not identity, it's allocation. A system learning what gets your bandwidth. Here's the lever. You can't stop the first thought. That's automatic. But you can choose whether it gets your full bandwidth. The choice happens in the gap between the thought arriving and you following it. Most people shrink that gap to 0. Thought arrives and they're already inside the movie. The protocol widens the gap. It trains you to notice without feeding, to observe without amplifying. Concrete example. Thought. What if I never fall asleep? Old pattern. You attend. You start calculating hours. You predict exhaustion. You monitor your body. You measure failure to sleep, and the measuring keeps you awake. New pattern. The thought arrives, and you don't give it the main channel. You move attention to something neutral. The weight of your head on the pillow, the sound of your breath, the sensation of your hands. These aren't distractions, they're alternate signals. And because attention is measurement, the new signal gets bandwidth. The catastrophizing may still run, but it runs in the background now. Without the main channel, it stops escalating. Mechanism in one sentence. Catastrophizing feels urgent because attending makes it feel urgent. So the protocol doesn't fight urgency. It starves the loop that manufactures it. What happens to the catastrophizing when you stop measuring it? Attention doesn't reveal what's important. It manufactures what feels important. Notice one sound in the room right now without naming it. Every time you follow catastrophizing at bedtime, you rehearse a habit. And the habit is simple. Uncertainty triggers worst-case simulation. Rehearse it enough and it becomes automatic. Then it runs fast. Then you don't even notice the trigger. You only notice the volume. Habits aren't just behaviors. Habits are pathways. Pathways deepen with repetition. Bedtime becomes the cue. Catastrophizing becomes the routine. And the reward is the illusion of control. You think rehearsing the worst case makes you prepared. It doesn't. It makes you exhausted. Here's the mechanism. You lie down. Uncertainty spikes. The brain generates a worst-case prediction. You attend to it, the scenario expands, emotion rises. Because emotion rises, the brain tags the scenario as important. Next night, same cue. Faster loop. You're training yourself to catastrophize at bedtime. Now the reversal. If rehearsal builds the habit, interruption weakens it. Interruption doesn't erase the pathway. It stops feeding it. Concrete scene, you're lying down, catastrophizing starts. Old habit, follow it. Run the scenario, feel it, loop it. New habit, notice it, label it, and redirect. One sentence, that's catastrophizing. No argument, no replacement, no positivity, just the label and a neutral anchor. You can't delete catastrophizing. It's part of the survival system, but you can weaken its grip. You can make it quieter. You can make it easier to interrupt. And you do that by meeting the same trigger with a different response. Not once. Not when you feel like it. 2 nights. Same trigger. New response. 48 hours. That's the test. The broadcast will defend itself. It will escalate. It will claim urgency. Don't fight it. Don't negotiate. Label it and walk the new path. What are you rehearsing every night when you follow the catastrophizing? The pathway you walk is the pathway that deepens. Walk a new one and the old one fades. Feel your feet wherever they are for 5 seconds. The Bedtime Broadcast Interrupt ebook is linked in the description. Here's the protocol, 3 steps. Same trigger, 48 hours. You run this at bedtime, lights off, the moment catastrophizing starts. Step 1, observe, 10 seconds. You're lying down. The thought arrives. Don't fight it, don't analyze it, don't engage, just observe. Notice it like a sound. It's there. You register it, you don't follow it. 10 seconds, that's all. You're creating the gap. The gap is where choice lives. Step 2, label 1 sentence. After 10 seconds, label the pattern. 1 sentence. That's catastrophizing. Use the exact words, not "I'm anxious," not "I'm spiraling," not "I'm overthinking." Those are interpretations. Catastrophizing is the mechanism. The label separates you from the broadcast. You're not the catastrophizing. You're the operator noticing catastrophizing. Step 3, choose 1% action. Now choose a micro redirection. 1%, not a mental task, not a thought replacement. A tiny movement of attention to something neutral. Feel your hands, feel your breath, feel the weight of your head on the pillow. Pick one. Stay there for 5 seconds. You're not trying to relax. You're not trying to force sleep. You're selecting a new signal. Catastrophizing can keep broadcasting, but it doesn't get the main channel. That's the protocol. Observe, label, choose. 10 seconds, 1 sentence, 1%. Repeat it whenever the loop returns. You're not trying to erase the broadcast. You're training a different handoff. Here's the test. 2 consecutive nights, same trigger, same response, lights off. Head on pillow, catastrophizing starts. Observe, label, choose. No skipping, no variation. 48 hours, that's your test window. At the end of night 2, answer 1 question. Did you run the protocol both nights? Yes or no? That's the only measurement. Execution, not feelings. Not, did I sleep perfectly? Not, did the thoughts disappear? Just, did you run it? Why? Because feelings fluctuate. Sleep depends on many variables. But behavior is binary. You either observed, labeled, and chosen, or you didn't. Night 1, the loop starts. You run the sequence. The thoughts may return. Fine. Run it again. You're practicing the move. Night 2, same trigger, same sequence. You run it again. By the end, you have data, not a story, not hope, data. And that data tells you the truth. Can you interrupt the handoff? Or does the broadcast take the wheel? Rule of the day. The broadcast that runs loudest is the one you attend longest. Shorten the attention, quiet the broadcast. You've got the trigger, you've got the pattern, you've got the protocol, you've got the test. 2 nights, same moment, new response. Catastrophizing will show up. Let it. You're not trying to stop it. You're proving you can notice it without following it. Most people live as passengers in their own heads. They assume thoughts are theirs. They assume thoughts are true. They assume thoughts require a response. You know better now. Thoughts are broadcasts. Broadcasts run on attention, and you control where attention goes. consistently enough to change what happens next. The ebook is in the description. One file. Keep it near your bed. If you want the deeper library after this one, the full pack is there too. Subscribe if this changed how you see the mechanism. And tonight, when the station turns up the volume, you've got 10 seconds. Use them.